It's a new episode of Listen In with KNN, the sports sound of the district. Today, we welcome former pro football standout, Doug Plank. After spending his college career as a member of The Ohio State University, Plank went on to play as a safety for the Chicago Bears from 1975 to 1982. As a member of the Bears, Plank became a favorite of defensive coordinator Buddy Ryan for his hard-hitting style. As such, he named Chicago's defense the 46 defense after Plank's jersey number, and it proved to be successful against opposing offenses. After retiring from football, Plank began work as a businessman, a licensed realtor, and a seminar speaker. He's also a color analyst for Sports USA Media's coverage of NFL and college football broadcasts. We now welcome Mr. Plank to this live stream of Listen In with KNN. Here's your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. It's Listen In with KNN, the sports sound of the district. We bring you the biggest guests, great analysis, and the hottest sports stories in the nation's capital and beyond. And we bring it to you live. Welcome to this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN. Here's your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back into a brand new live stream edition of Listen In with KNN, presented right here on our home station, Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. With me, your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. Happy New Year. It's so good to be back. And I want to also give a big welcome to my brand new Listen In with KNN internship class that is kicking off the spring 2025 semester. Hard to believe we are at that time, but yes, back to school. I know it's really cold here, so hard to think about it, but nonetheless excited to have them on. But as we get closer and closer to the NFL playoffs, excited to bring a great from the NFL gridiron to join me on the show. We had a great conversation backstage. You all are in for a very special treat. It's my first time meeting him as well. But joining me now live on Listen In with KNN is Chicago Bears legend, none other than Doug Plank. Doug, welcome to the show. How are you?
Kelsey, thank you so much for inviting me on your show. I'm not as great as all the accolades that you have given me. I was one of those guys that, came out of Ohio State.
Yep.
But I didn't start. I was the next man up guy. Mm-hmm. And so when I got to Chicago, the one thing I did do, I led the Ohio State Buckeyes in kickoff tackles for 3 years.
Important. Yep.
You know what? That's a crazy time in a football. It used to be, not now, but it used to be where everybody got hurt and you brought the fear factor. You found out who was brave and who wasn't. And so they said, geez, this guy is such a great tackler on kickoffs. Why don't we draft him? So I got drafted in the 12th round. I mean, I couldn't even believe it myself. There were 17 rounds back then. So you had to wait like 3 days to get drafted.
Yeah, to find out. What's that like? What's that like, Doug? When you're just waiting and just don't know if that phone's going to ring, because we hear it and we see Mr. Irrelevant now in football, but I just couldn't imagine, Doug, just waiting each round to go on and just
honestly, I really, and I really I love watching like players waiting for the anticipation of getting drafted. Without being a starter, I really had no anticipation of getting drafted. There was there was no combine back in 1970s. Yeah. So all the teams would send out, they would have a workout for all the seniors that were going, graduating, going into the NFL. And I was the only senior on our team that year at Ohio State that wasn't invited to come over to the field house, run a 40, throw some weights around. And that's what they used, like it is now in the combine. That's where they evaluated players. So I never thought I was going to play. In fact, the last game we had was at the Rose Bowl against USC. I just remember walking off the field. There was no smoke back then, by the way. Walking off the field thinking, this is my last game of my life. And what fun. It was against USC. And, lo and behold, I find out that the bell, when I came back from a class, actually, I was going to school that day. Yeah. And my roommate said, hey, somebody from Chicago called you. I go, yeah, okay, that's funny. And I looked at the area code, sure enough, and it was the Chicago Bears. And they came to one of the games that we had on our Big Ten schedule in Northwestern. That's a suburb of Chicago. Right. I didn't know it. And so a Chicago Bear scout came, and I happened to play that day because the guy in front of me got hurt. And, some days you wake up and everything is well, Kelsey. I mean, I was making all the tackles. I got an interception. I forced a fumble.
It was just your time. It was your day that
day. He goes, Doug, we saw you at Northwestern. Did you see me the next week? I said I was on the bench again. He goes, no, we didn't see you the next week. He goes, so I got drafted on one game. Wow. And I mean, so I was living, honestly, when I got off my bus to get there in Chicago, I was living the dream. Yeah. every year.
That's amazing, especially when we think about the career you went on to have during your NFL career in Chicago. But I think there's such an important lesson there, Doug, to take every game almost as an audition, right? In the sense that you just don't know who's looking, right? And who's going to cast you maybe for something else. And for you, like you said, that day just everything went right. Sometimes you have those days where it's the football gods, everybody loves you, and things are just, the coach is happy, your teammates are happy. And, it was good for you. And then it's funny hearing you say that, because then for us that know your career in Chicago and all 8 seasons, Chicago Bears, 75 to 82. When you look back, because you're living in Scottsdale now, right now?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Everybody lives in Scottsdale.
Scottsdale. Yeah. Nobody knows who I am. Although there's a lot of people here from Chicago that moved out here in Arizona. So, I mean, there's a lot of Arizona people. When the Bears come and play here, play the Cardinals, the stadium is more Bear fans than there is Cardinal fans.
And look, that's a good reason to leave the Chicago cold and go out to Scottsdale. Yes. I love that. And I know a lot of former players retire out there. But when you look back, what does Chicago mean to you then, to take that chance on you, especially when you look back at what the NFL was able to do to propel your NFL career?
You know what? I actually, I was working at Anheuser-Busch that summer. I'd worked there. That was my summer job at Ohio State. Not a bad job.
Not a bad one at all, especially as a college student.
No, you can actually drink when you were working. They didn't care about that.
Not that they knew.
I'm driving up there thinking, I'm probably going to be driving back the next week after they let me go. So I'm driving up there and just keep thinking, you know what? I need to act fast. When I get out of this car, I need to act like I've done this before. I've got confidence. I'm not going around like a mouse, hiding in the corners. And when I got that uniform on that first day, I said, by the way, we roomed by alphabetical order with players. Yep. Guess who my roommate was? Walter Payton.
Of all people, wow.
You know what? I was doing interviews on him back on our rookie year. How did you do this, Walter? How did you get so strong? How did you get so fast? Now, he did not make the Heisman Trophy. The year that those 2 years that he was playing, Archie Griffin on our team was the Heisman Trophy winner. And Archie was really, really good. I mean, but he was good because he was surrounded by all these good players at Ohio State. And Walter asked me, he goes, Doug, why didn't I get the Heisman Trophy? Why wasn't I picked out. I go, well, how many times were you on national television? He went to Jackson State, no disrespect. Right. Got a great place to go to school, played sports, get a degree. But it was all about notoriety.
Right.
Your face was on television. It's just like with anything. You know, movie actors, news people, sportscasters, the more you can get on this modem here, the better off you're going to be. And really that helped Archie. The first day I saw Walter, oh my gosh, the first time I tried, hitting him and tackling him, even though I was good at tackling, it felt like a telephone pole. I mean, solid, boom, and bounced off, of course. And but he was really a wonderful experience.
That's amazing. And what better roommates to have, my gosh. But
also no, you're right.
It's like, oh wow, you're here. Okay, with me. And I feel like that probably even it motivates you, right? When you see somebody.
Honestly, when I watch him, plus he worked so hard afterwards. He went into the weight room. I loved lifting weights.
Right.
And that's really where I learned how to lift weights. So I became I always had aggression inside of me, but that ability to lift weights. And, it keeps you from getting injured. And when you are injured, it accelerates your recovery process. So I lifted, some guy said, no, I hate weights. You're too heavy. I don't want to lift them. I lifted them every day because I kept thinking, this is going to save me. And I would even pretend when I was grabbing big, heavy weights that I was getting ready to try to tackle, not just Walter, but, Earl Campbell or some other really big, heavy back that we needed every little ounce that I had to get him on the ground. And in my first year, I led the team in tackles, which was amazing. I was starting. I didn't start at the beginning in training camp, but by the first game, I started the season and I led the team in tackles as a rookie. That had never been done before in the Chicago Bears. In the history of the Chicago Bears, they were put together like back in 1600s. They've been around forever and ever and ever.
And that's huge, to come in and do that. And then I feel like, you establish yourself early on, right? Because no one's expecting it. And then that's kind of, where the world essentially kind of got to know, Doug Plank. And as we talk about rookies and just being able to be special, I couldn't be remiss, Doug, because I'm in DC and the rookie that everyone's talking about as we get ready for the playoffs. We're going to talk about that rookie in Chicago too, but Jaden Daniels, I just love your thoughts on what he's been able to do to this Washington franchise. 12-win season, hasn't been done since 91. Like it's a different type of atmosphere here in DC. Like that B word, that belief word, feels like people are finally believing again in a franchise that for a long time felt like it was on life support because folks just kind of knew the status quo was around that team, where now it's like, oh, there might be a chance for them to win in the playoff and continue on.
You know what? You wouldn't believe what atmosphere does on a team. And I can tell you because I've seen what the Chicago Bears are this year with that 10-game losing streak.
Right.
You're ready to commit literally suicide after 10 straight games. I mean, you're like, oh my gosh, please, dear God, don't let us lose another game, because it impacts you every hour of every day. You don't think about anything else. We lost. And even during the game, sometimes you would be ahead and you would say, okay, when is the bad play going to come? When's the turnover, the interception, the fumble recovery?
Right. Something to give a spark or momentum back, right?
It's amazing. And that's why I think, people like we're talking about here, this is not just about talent. You could take an all-star team and put it out there again in the NFL. I don't think it would go undefeated. You know why? Everybody thinks they're the best guy on the team, and it's all me. No, you need backup guys. You need guys that are just that special occasion that can, they're good for a good play, for a tackle. So it really takes a lot of different personalities to make up a great team. And I just say this, though. It's harder to go winless in a season than it is be undefeated. You know why? Because you have to be really, really bad to go and lose every single game. I'm serious, because I lost. I was on a team, I think my fifth year, we lost 8 games in a row. And that was, people were ready to commit suicide. And, so it's like, we never want to lose again. And we would adopt that. So, I just think, players are very similar. They have different helmets and different jerseys, and they're in different cities. You know what? Strip it all away. Everybody wants the same thing. They're going to try to accomplish it.
Of
and
course.
they love having like on all defensive guys love the quarterbacks, because
you want to feast on them,
whether you are on the field or off the field.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like 3 and out. I mean, you've just been on a long drive, stopped them, or maybe they scored. Yep. Oh yeah, 3 plays on your offense and you're back on the field again. That's why some of the best friends I had were on offense, because I would encourage them all the time. Hey, listen, you're great. Go ahead. You guys can score. I would act like a coach on the sidelines, patting them on the back, because that meant I didn't have to go on the field.
Right. You're like, keep playing. Keep converting those third downs. No, it makes sense.
That's exactly it.
But that's huge though, right? That morale. And again, that's something else that's talked about in Washington now, how that morale has changed. Like talked about that atmosphere, just being more a positive culture. I think that's
yes.
for a rookie.
You know what? I love people don't, I know everybody wants to watch the game. I don't. I like watching the sidelines. The sidelines can tell you who's winning, who's losing, who's doing a good game, who's doing a bad game.
Right.
One thing about Tom Brady, I remember watching him in a lot of games that he was actually behind and they came back. When he's on the sidelines, he is Mr. Motivator. He is going around, hey, encouraging every player. It's like his father. He wanted to be dad to every player. It works. It sounds corny. It sounds like no way. Oh yeah, yes way. You get somebody like that, a leader of your team, going around and really. And on the other hand, these teams that don't do very well, I promise you, watch the coach. He looks like he's staring off into the sky.
Right.
He's not talking to anybody.
Unengaged. Right.
He's got his sheet here. Oh my God, this is your secret place here. I got to keep hiding them with my hand and everything so nobody sees them. It's a bunch of baloney. You don't win with this. You win with this right here and up here.
That communication, right? And being able to
I think
communicate.
the number one guy to even look at is, look at the coach from Detroit Lions this year, Dan Campbell.
Amazing in what they've done.
He's an amazing guy. I love watching him, not just when the play game's going on, but he's on the sideline. He's working the sideline. He is motivating everybody.
Right. I love he lets his emotion shine through. I'm like Dan Campbell, like when he feels it, you feel it. And he's not afraid. And I think that vulnerability has spoke. I mean, we're talking about the Detroit Lions once again, like being a good team, Doug. Like it's like it's exciting in football, right? I feel like when Detroit's good, I think football's better. And I think that's what we're seeing now in this play. And who doesn't love Dan Campbell? I don't know if you saw, like they had like a lookalike contest and then they had to mimic him. It was one of the greatest things I've ever watched.
Even the fans, I never saw the fans as many times as I have this year. They're always got, why? Because the fans are now into the game. They're encouraging the team. And, they're watching it so intently. All due respect, every time I played the Detroit Lions, I just knew we were going to win. They were going to make a big mistake at the beginning of the game, at the end of the game. One year on Thanksgiving, we played them, and we scored at the very end of the game. They went out with a big lead, and then we came roaring back, if you can imagine, roaring up to 7 points or 14 points. Anyway, so the game is tied. The Lions kick off to us and start the overtime.
Yeah.
Our guy runs it back for a touchdown. It's over. The game is over. But that sums up what the Lions were before. They never had any momentum. They never made something happy, even on Thanksgiving. I mean, what a wonderful day that would have been, if they would have beaten us at home.
Right.
Didn't happen. And and I even playing against them, there were some good players on that team, but they just didn't have that mojo.
And it means something, right? Like we're talking about, guys, the positivity around the Detroit Lions, where before it was almost like a laughing stock, right? Oh, we've got the Lions. And that city deserves it. I know a lot of folks in Detroit, and they've been hungry and thirsty for something. So it's good. And then just transitioning a little bit from Detroit to Chicago now. So much to talk about right now, Doug, with the Chicago Bears. You talk about like the losing streak that essentially the Bears went on right after that Washington game, right? That Hail Mary that was like spectacular, that like, my gosh, that stadium erupted, right? Jaden Daniels, Noah Brown. Like I remember that was like yesterday. And the Bears coming into that game, you could say had the momentum. They looked good. There was a lot of folks who thought that the Commanders wouldn't win that game. But now you look at a team finished 4th in the NFC North. We're talking about Caleb Williams and quarterback play. A coach, right, got fired mid-season. Lots happening with the Chicago Bears. So for Chicago Bears fans, like, what can you tell us? What can they hopefully look forward to with this franchise? There's a lot of hopes with Caleb, and on paper, looking good with weapons around him. But, what would you say going into the next season that Chicago Bears fans can look forward to?
Like I said, I think Walter Payton was the best running back I ever saw in my life.
Yeah.
That was at my rookie year in 1975. I don't think you weren't even born back then, but 75 was a long, long time ago. Yeah. And Walter could do anything. Walter could run, catch, throw, kick, punt, you name it. He could sell tickets. So it isn't always about what the skill level is. It's about who's around you. Okay. Even like in his situation, especially as a quarterback, who are you throwing it to? Who's blocking for me?
Right.
I'm just saying right now, a quarterback is not a quarterback. You remember Justin Fields, the kid from Ohio State a few years ago?
Yeah, now in Pittsburgh. Yeah.
He was sacked 8 times. I'm sorry. Right. I don't even care if you're a scarecrow. You stand back there. You shouldn't get hit 8 times in one game. And that's all you need to know. That's all you needed to know about the offense. They weren't going to score points. They were going to get turnovers. You could go sack them. And it's almost like the team there's numbers have changed, faces have changed, but it's the same team. If you took all the numbers off and just gave them all black jerseys or something, and without the Chicago Bear helmet on, you would think it was the same team.
Yeah,
it was years ago.
When you see, because Caleb Williams was sacked 68 times, Doug, this season, third most in NFL history. Like, what do you want him to do when he's on his back? I'm just asking.
Right. And even then, if it wasn't for his incredible athleticism, he got out of some situations.
Yeah.
One time, I know they were coming in from all sides. He did like a circle, confused them all. They were all thinking he was going to go the other way. He spun them all around and then took off around the end. I mean, it was something like I'd never seen before. So there's no doubt the talent that he has is incredible. Yeah. I think he needs to be put in the right situation. Mm-hmm. And here's the other thing too. When I got to the Bears in my rookie year, we were a bad team. The first year was only 14 regular season games at that time. We were 4-10. We were just a terrible team. Right. And so everybody reminded of us that the Chicago Tribune reminded us of how terrible we were every day. Or the announcers that did the weekends games. Man, this team is terrible. Man, this team is young. They're terrible. They're all rookies. We did have a lot of rookies. The bottom line is, until that all comes together, and I keep going back to the Detroit Lions, boy, they're just fun to watch right now because their history of lose. I mean, not
for so long,
but they're getting high draft choices. Why are they losing?
Right.
It's got to be something other than the high draft choices. And number one, I've had so many reporters and news people say terrible things about our Chicago Bear team. I always swore to myself, I'm never going to be one of those guys that ever says bad, terrible.
Right.
Terrible,
You're going to add some positivity or something else to that. Right?
And that's why I'm always kind of subdued and just saying, maybe they didn't have a good game or whatever. It's okay. Yeah. I mean, but some guys don't have their worst game of the year every week, and unfortunately there's a couple people that were on the team this year that was the case. And really, like I said, even like a couple of the antics that we saw this year where players were distracted and talking to fans while the game is going on. Right. You know what? You got to get those players off your team fast, not just because what they can do to your team, but the impact they have on all your other teammates.
And I think that is important, like for folks to remember. Of course, the quarterback gets so much of the blame, right? They're the most visible person on the team, but the offensive line is something we talked about in Chicago last season, talked about it this season. And Caleb's doing the right thing. He's saying, look, it's on me, right? And that's what he's supposed to do, not on the offensive line. But, you have to give him room to grow. And I'm not giving up on Caleb yet. Like you said, Justin Fields.
Neither am I. Honestly, it's not him. It's
exactly.
You could really put the best quarterback. I don't care. You pick any one of those quarterbacks and put him in a situation like that where he's getting bombarded, he's getting blitzed all the time. Tell me it's not a one-man show anymore. Those guys on defense are so athletic, they're so fast. It isn't even like, when you sometimes watch the NFL, we'll put some kind of a video on from the team 10 years ago, 20 years ago. You're going, these guys are in slow motion. They're moving so slow. You know why? because you're used to watching guys now sprint around the field, fast, quick. They get open, boom, they're down the sideline.
Right.
Back when I played, I don't know, it was just a different, even before I got there was guys going both ways that could play on offense. Those days are gone. And I mean, these guys are fast, quick. No wonder they get injured so easily because they got fast twitch muscles. And so many times you get hit. I'll just say this: the hardest hit I ever had in my life was the ground. I got sides. I was running down on a kickoff, and I just got hit from the side. Never saw the guy coming, and he actually clipped me. But I went flying forward and landed on my helmet. You know what? Especially now, that was okay when it was grass. There's no grass anywhere anymore.
Right.
It was on AstroTurf, and I'll tell you what, that was probably one of the hardest hits I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, turf feels much different.
Yes.
I mean, look at all the concussion issues, right? We're talking about right now in football.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right.
So I think you're so right on that. But again, I think Bears, and I get it. It's a sports city. They love their football team, but give it a little bit of time. I think Chicago's trying to get it right. But I think the quarterback, and I know folks are ready to give up on him, but I think they have the best situation. And, you talked a little bit earlier, Doug, about guys going both ways. So I have to ask you, what do you think about Travis Hunter and his prospects? I know there's a lot of folks saying, could he be that next one that can potentially play both ways in the National Football League?
Yeah, you know what? He's so talented. I mean, he's got skills. And really, it's like I said earlier, I was very thankful Walter Payton was a running back because he could have been on defense. I'm serious. I saw he was so muscular and fast and strong. So it's really a matter of, I think what the personal likeness is of the player, what position he may go for.
Right.
There's always, but that usually is made back in college. There was a lot of kids in college that were either on offense or defense, and coaches said, no, you belong on the other side.
Right.
When I got to Ohio State, I was a quarterback in high school, and but I really liked to run into people and hit people. And one of the coaches said, "You're no quarterback. It didn't matter if I could throw it 65 yards."
Right.
They stuck me on defense right away. And the same thing is true even in offense or in the pros. Some of those plays come in there with players that they change. They change them from one position. And I think in some cases it's an excellent move because you're maximizing the skills and abilities of that player. But some players, they're just so talented. They can catch, they can run, they can tackle. I'll just say this, I think they're protecting offensive and defensive players a lot more now as far as using the helmet.
Right.
That was all we hit with. I mean, the helmet. In practice, we hit with the helmet. The only time I got fined in the NFL, I hit somebody with my helmet. And you always remember that. You remember when you got fined because especially if it's more money than you made that night or that game, you got to work like 2 or 3 games to pay the fine.
Get that off, right?
That was. I'm glad they've changed all that, and but it's one of those things that sometimes you start looking at players too. They'll never say this in the media, but maybe if they have a bad relationship, maybe with their position coach, they're not going to be as good as they could be. Especially if you're trying to make that person, that defensive player or offensive player, do something that they're not familiar with. Asking a running back to run up the middle all the time when he was used to running around the end, or he's a good receiver. Some coaches are just like that. They have a certain thing in their brain that they say, no, the concept I have is going to work for us. Even though it hasn't worked so far for the last 10 years, I know it's going to work for us. And they keep running those same plays over and over. I mean, how many times do you watch football games and I go, why did they – it was 3rd and like 25 yards.
Why are they doing that? What was the
Why are they running the ball, between the guard 25 yards? I mean, I don't understand. I don't get it at all. And and the players don't get it either.
And, just going off the relationship with the coach, I want to talk about your longtime Bears defensive coordinator, Buddy Ryan, late, great, that famed 46 defense. Like, what was your relationship like? I mean, to have a defense literally named after you, and it was your jersey number too, that's special, Doug. I mean, that's something that, like, you talk about what defensive players want. I mean, that seems like a pinnacle, something when you look back at your career.
you know what? It's really, I never really told anybody this.
Yeah.
When Buddy Ryan came in, either myself or our fellow safety, Gary Fensick, who played strong safety, would lead the team in tackles. So that tells you a lot about our team. People were coming through the line of scrimmage at will. And the only people that were tackling at that time was Gary and I, and we're safeties. I lined up like 12 yards deep. So I had to close, and I'm still making the tackle. They're coming through the line of scrimmage. I mean, it's like sometimes, some of those guys, you have to make a business decision, like whether you're going to tackle or not.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm sorry. I forgot your question. I was going off on another tangent.
No, you're good. Because actually one of the comments we have on the show was about you and your teammate, Gary, that you guys were tough. You played football the right way.
You know what?
Of tough physical players. It was perfect.
I'll tell you what we did. We would watch the film together, during the week, and we would challenge each other. Things, who can get the most tackles? Who can force an interception? We had little games going on. So I hate to say this right now, despite the Bears losing, Gary and I had games going into each individual week that we won our own games. In other words, we would be out on the field sometimes, and he would force a fumble. I would get an interception. He's coming over and high five, and guys on the other team are going, "What are you guys cheering for? You're losing." I go, "No, we're winning the game we're looking at." It's almost like we challenged each other.
Right. You made each other better.
And Gary and I, I'll tell you what, we didn't even have to talk to each other. During the game, him and I would study this film, and I'm telling you, we could anticipate probably 70% of the plays that teams were going to run at that time because of the splits of the offensive linemen, whether they were leaning on their hand or leaning backwards. If they're leaning backwards, it's going to be a pass. If they're leaning forward like they're going to run a 40, it's going to be a run. And I don't care if they hand the ball off to the quarterback or whatever. I'm looking at the guards and the two linemen. The guards, two guards and a center. They're going to tell me run and pass. Yeah. If they come flying across the line of scrimmage, I'm telling you, I'm already in explode mode. I'm coming. I line up like a sprinter at 10 yards, 12 yards. If those linemen come across, only because once they cross the line, they can't throw the ball.
Right.
So I would come up, boom. If I couldn't get to the runner, I would hit linemen.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody liked playing against us. I've never met a guy in the NFL that was played during my period that didn't know who I was. The moment I get told my name, they go, "Oh, you cheap shot artist. You hit me in the back. You broke a rib. You knocked me out." I don't know. When you're losing, you look at other games to play. Yeah. Even though we were losing some of the games, I convinced Gary, who came to the Chicago Bears as a safety from Yale of all places. Yes, he had brains. I got him to really buy into my program. Just run around, fun, or stumbles. Hey, even if we don't win, we can high five each other on the way to the locker room because we did what we were supposed to do.
I love that. And, when you look back, and I'm glad you touched on that because I know not everybody was a fan of how well and hard you played, right? And even now you talk about it. And, a lot of the former football players I talk to, they say the game has gotten soft, Doug. I know they're trying to make it safer, but at the same time, why do people love football? They love it's organized chaos, right? They love the hard hits. And at the end of the day, you guys are competing, right, for that win.
Kelsey, you're absolutely right. I mean, when I go places, no one's ever told me, "Doug, I remember that interception you had. Oh, it was so wonderful." No, it was like, "Doug, I remember you hitting that guy, knocking his helmet off. This was fantastic." When Buddy Ryan came in the Chicago Bears, this was my 4th year in the NFL. I had already led the team in tackles. I was under another head coach who ended up going to Washington, Jack Pardee. He looked at that film that first day. He goes, "Doug, you're no free safety." He goes, you're a linebacker playing free safety." I go, "Whatever, coach." He goes, and he devised this 46 defense. I played the linebacker position, the middle linebacker. Yep. So, I mean, it was so much fun. I mean, getting sacks now, hitting the quarterback. And here's the other thing. I learned this on my own. I watched all those linemen on an end zone camera because there's cameras on the sideline and end zone. Right. End zone shows you what it looks like as a player. And I would look at each player and the way they put their hands down, how many fingers meant it was going to be a run or a pass. I mean, I studied this thing like you can't imagine. And Gary and I both did. And we had signals together, like hand signals. Oh, I mean, we couldn't even talk. We were just like, deaf people giving out signs as what the play is going to be. I would tell Gary, it's going to be a sweep to your side, the left side here, because he was a strong safety. He was outside the tight end. I mean, Gary and I had so much fun.
That was a special connection. I can just feel it still now, like just talking about it, and again, we saw what you guys were able to do. And the fact that people still, like you said, till this day, remember how impactful that was, in a league where we talk about defense a lot. I mean, even my way, like everyone talks about the Chicago Bears defense, and that's kind of the precedent. I feel like that was almost set that so many, try to just.
You know what happened though? We were so aggressive on quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. If a quarterback threw an interception, the guy that had the ball, this was the rule, was by yourself. You ran, you were BYOB, be your own blocker.
Yeah.
Okay. You mean, where's the other 10 guys? He's hitting the quarterback.
Right.
In the games we played and won, we knocked half the quarterbacks out. The first team quarterback, boom. You want to win games? Bring in the second team quarterback, the third team quarterback.
Right.
And you know what? So we that 46 defense was attack.
Yeah.
There weren't many quarterbacks that finished it, especially when they got better and better and better. I started it like in 81. I was a middle linebacker. I had to make calls. Man, I really felt like a linebacker, the linebacker that was starting would go over to the sideline. And after I left or got, and was let go, I had a spinal concussion.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Singletary came in. Mike was the perfect substitute for me. Because Mike, I said, Mike, him and Buddy Ryan were kind of arguing at first. I said, Mike, just don't say anything. Just say, yes, coach. Yes, sir, coach.
You're right. Right.
Like in a family deal, yes, Dad. Okay, I won't throw that on the floor anymore. I won't break the windows. No, it's not me. I said, don't ever say, no, coach, I don't get what you're talking about, which he was doing before. I go, this is a lesson for you, Mike. Yeah. You're replacing me, because I'm going to be leading the team. And I said, Mike Singletary was a perfect player for that position because he loved hitting people too. And he could hit them harder than I could. He was heavier. And he had just, he had that switch. That's everybody has to have a switch in football. Hi, everybody. Give me a big hug. We're all friends. The moment you walk on that field, you're a different person. Don't get in my way. I'm sorry. Even if it's a family member, you're going to go down. Right.
Look, you're across from me. You got to go.
Playing against your college roommates from Ohio State on other teams.
Yeah.
I had former teammates come up to me after the game sometimes going, Doug, I thought we were friends. I thought you liked me. I go, no. In fact, they told me if I didn't hit you and knock you out of the game, I was going to get cut. So you went, oh, okay. I mean, that's just the way it was. It was
the mentality, though, you have to have. I mean, that's what people want. Like, essentially, not even just football, right? Every sport, people kind of want that dog mentality, right? Like, who is going to go out and give everything?
You do.
Yeah, it's needed. So I love you off the field, but right now, look, we're competing. We're trying to get the win, and one of us is going to win. At the end of the day.
You know what I did after a while? I learned a lesson. After I heard that one time out, because this was after the game as we were all going to our locker rooms. The guy came across the field. I'm not even going to tell you what the player was, but he said, why did you hit me? Why did you do all this? The next week, there was more players on that team. I said, you know what? I'm going to go over there right now, and I'm going to look up every former Buckeye that's on that team and go, listen, hey, my name's Doug Plank. I'm playing free safety. They tell me they want me to take you out of this game, hit you as hard as I can in the chest, wherever. I said, I want to let you know right now, just be aware. And I walked, they probably went, what the heck was that?
Where did this come from?
He had walked across the field to say this stuff. And I said, you guys got it? You got it? So no one ever came over to me after me again and said, you cheap shot. You didn't tell me you were going to hit me.
I gave you the warning. I let you know.
Yes, that was it.
I would have appreciated that warning as well. And, I heard you talked about it, your spinal concussion that you got with the Bears. And I can just tell, again, your love for the game. Like, what is it like to walk away from something that you love so much?
It's honestly, it's hard. You know what? Usually, though, players usually don't walk away from the NFL. They limp away or carried away. And that's what it takes. That's an example, though.
Right.
Players aren't going to leave until they get something. I've replaced 5 of my joints right now, both shoulders, both knees, and I just replaced my hip a couple weeks ago.
Wow.
So things add up. They weren't all that bad when I was leaving, but the damage had already been done. Every time I had a doctor say, Doug, we need, because not only is it bone on bone, the bone is wearing the other one down so much. If we don't do something right now, like put titanium in there, you're not going to be able to walk. And that's on top of the concussions. I mean, so when you just think about it, you play 16 games and you average probably 100 tackles a year, with those games, man, that's a lot of collisions. I mean, it's a car wreck. I've been in a lot of car wrecks. I've totaled 4 cars. The last one I totaled was like 3 years ago on an interstate out here. But I don't know. I just enjoyed, hitting things and rolling over, which is what happened on my last accident. I rolled over a truck 3 times, and it was still exciting.
You're here. That's what's important, though. We're just glad you're here, Doug.
Yes.
But that's huge, and I appreciate you touching on it, because I think that's the hardest thing, right? You love it so much, like you talk about it.
It is.
Almost like a dream, right? Like you talked about, you were at Ohio State. You didn't know the future. You happened to have a good game. Then you're living the dream 8 long years with a story that ties, right? Like,
I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I was driving to work in the morning up at Lake Forest, north of Chicago. Yeah. I'm thinking, is this really happening to me, Doug? Are you really in this car driving it to the Chicago Bears facility?
Right.
When
it hits you.
It does hit you. I mean, I'm not ashamed to tell you that a lot of the things that happened to me, both good and bad, I cried. Now, I have never cried in my life. I fell through ice when I was ice skating when I was young. Wow. I still, broke the ice and got to the side. I mean, whatever it was, stitches, I had over 100 stitches. You weren't a tough guy in my neighborhood until you had 100 stitches. Now, most of them, unfortunately, were in my head, which probably is why I can't remember anything. And but I got a lot of stitches, and but that kind of proved. I don't know. It wasn't like it was hard for me to prove, because I enjoyed doing it. It's almost like having that blood drip in your mouth and you lick it and go, "Oh, it tastes pretty good."
That's the competitor nugget. You see, not everybody does that. Some people get scared, but I think that's for you. Like, you welcomed that, and then again, it was exhibited, and then, but you went on to do so much. Like we talked about before the show, you're doing analyst work, and you became a Burger King franchisee. I mean, you just continue. The Doug Plank story continues to evolve. I think that's one of the best things about you. Is that football was just that one part of your story, and like you talked about, you're doing these internships and stuff. Like, you don't stop that, essentially.
You know what's happening when I would see guys quit, or not quit, when I would see guys let go, and the words you don't want to hear is, coach wants to see you and bring your playbook. That's code word for you're going to be released. Right. And so this happened many times, because when I first got there, I was there for 8 years, so I saw it. And you always think, hey, your day is coming. Your day is coming. The NFL does stand for National Football League, but it also stands not for long.
Right.
Those are initials, an acronym. And so when I saw these guys leaving, all crying, walking out to their car, I said, these guys are all brokenhearted. They probably have no idea, because I would always try to spend at least 5 minutes with them, because you're playing a tough football game with them for 8 years. And I would ask them what they're going to do. And, I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. That scared the crap out of me. So the first year, what I did every offseason, I got a job that maybe it wasn't a job that I was going to do for life. I got a real estate license. I got a loan origination license. I sold tax shelters. I got a contractor's license. So I got all these licenses. It isn't like college where you get to go to school for 4 years. I can get a license in the off season in 30 days.
Right.
It's crazy. I can hang a license in the back of my pickup truck full of licenses. Yeah. And what happened was, because there's going to be a day where the coach says, Doug, I want to see you and bring your playbook. And it's going to know it's your turn. Yeah. And so what happened was, the other thing I did, I was great at giving talks, because I would practice. I bought a few books. I listened to a few recordings of famous speakers, not like presidents, but motivational, for like companies, because companies were asking me to come out and talk. Football team's a company. You have injuries, you have setbacks, substitutes, all that, just like business. Right. So what happened was I was asked to go up to inside autographs was another thing. So I was asked to go sign autographs at a Burger King up in Detroit, Michigan, of all places.
Yeah.
Why would they call a Chicago Bear
to Detroit
in Burger King? I mean, I couldn't figure it out. So anyway, I talked to the owner afterwards. Every place I went and talked, I always found the owner or the president, and I said, "Mister, could you please tell me about your business or how you got involved in this?"
Right.
And this guy from Burger King, he loved it. He said, "Doug, I'll be glad to help you."
Oh, that's awesome.
And he said, so this is my 5th year now, but I was doing this all along. I went to more talks and speeches and stuff like that, autograph signings. So this guy, that next off season, which was my 5th year, he got me arranged to go to a Burger King restaurant in Detroit, Michigan for 90 days. This is in the off season now.
Yeah.
You know, back in the NFL, they didn't care where you were in the off season. Now it's like, where are you? Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Oh, yeah, they keep track. They know everything.
Exactly. It's here now. Now you go, okay, see you next year. So I went up there and did this for 90 days. I got approved as a Burger King franchisee. So I didn't tell one soul.
Yeah.
And it ended up that when my end came after 8 years, in 30 days, I was in Columbus, Ohio, with the opening a brand new Burger King.
Wow.
I mean, it couldn't have been any better. I never had any time to feel sorry for myself. And I thought, you know what? If I get this Burger King, really, it's good to make money with fast food as an operator. But when you make the real money is when you can buy the land, build the building, and be in there, it's like own your own home now. You don't pay rent. You're paying off the mortgage and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Even Ray Kroc, the most famous McDonald's franchisee, said it's not about the hamburgers, it's about the real estate. And so what I did was, then I went on and got a contractor's license. So I actually built some of the buildings. I was a real estate broker. I bought the real estate. So I always try to make it. I was a loan originator. I had a loan origination license.
You had all the different skills and tools to just keep going and growing.
You know what? Here's what I'm just thinking. You could do all this if you were really motivated, didn't feel sorry for yourself.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Sometimes people would ask me, why are you doing all this, Doug? You ought to be home relaxing. I go, no, I don't want to relax. I want to get another license. And you never know who you're going to meet. And I met one of the most famous Burger King franchisees in Ohio. And really, I just partnered with him. He did for me what he supercharged me as a Burger King franchisee because he knew all the presidents in Burger King.
Oh,
I went from 1 store to 12 stores in less than 5 years.
Jeez.
That's amazing. I mean,
incredible.
And then I got an opportunity to go to Arizona. I like sunshine like everybody else.
Sunshine and palm trees isn't too bad.
So that's how I ended up out here. I was running Burger Kings, and I'm still in the fast food business right now. But instead of being an operator, I own the real estate. I own the building, and it's a rather famous franchise. Because I did my 20 years with Burger King, 30 years actually. And I don't even know if I can. Anyway, it's a real popular chicken restaurant. And
are we talking about Chick-fil-A?
Yeah. Okay, I didn't say it. You said it. I love the place.
Popular chicken place. I love these.
Yes. The people are all excited down there. They're all fun to work. I mean, they don't even know who I am. But I don't manage it or anything. I just own the property. And but they do a great job. It's a great operation. But my point is, I finally realized, I said, you know what, Doug, you're on a team your whole life. Your family's your team growing up. Your sports teams are like your team. You know what? It's amazing. And I'm sure you've had the same experience. When something maybe bad happens or really, really good, and someone is giving you a hug and you can feel tears rolling down their face.
Yeah, that raw
my gosh. I cried again. I never cried with stitches growing up, nothing like that. I said, I wondered what was going to ever crack the shell here to get me to cry. It was something magnanimous like that. Like one time, Mike Singletary, was playing linebacker in front of me, and I was in safety, and he just wiped out all the blockers so I could come up and just make the tackle. No blockers. But I knew Mike sacrificed himself. And he came over to me, Doug. He goes, I just thought you'd like to have me do that. Yeah. I just started crying. I mean, tears would start rolling down my face.
Yeah.
I'm going, Mike, I don't even know what to say.
Oh, that's a special bond that you get.
It is. Yeah. Unbelievable bond. And even to this day, I can see him. And right away, just things come to your mind, like certain plays that you were with, Mike, or any other player, Gary, Walter. I mean, just amazing experiences. And
incredible.
I really look at that. Forget the compensation, because we really weren't compensated back then.
Right.
But it was that relationship with other players that made it so special.
Yeah. Every player I talk to that says that. It's a locker room bond, those bonds that you build with your brothers, essentially.
Yes, you're right.
So special. So I love hearing you say that. And talking about brothers, like, I can't let you go. There's a big game tomorrow night, talk with a team that you know very well, number 18 at Ohio State Buckeyes. And we've got the Longhorns. Where are you watching? Are you watching at home? Or are you going out with your friends, Doug?
Usually a lot of my friends come over. I've got some friends from Ohio State that actually, maybe I didn't go to, I went to school with some of them, but without Ohio State, I look at it as kind of a double-edged sword. Mm. I only played in maybe like 3 or 4 games when I was there, started. Yeah. But you know what? It was the training in practice. There were years on our Ohio State team, we had like 4 first-round draft choices in one draft on one team. Here's what I'm thinking. How could I come to Chicago and be a 12th round person in draft? And now I'm starting for the Chicago Bears. You know why? Yeah. I started thinking, you know what? Practices were like games. And I was practicing against first-round players.
Yeah.
And you know what? It made it, I don't want to say easy, but I wasn't surprised. When I got to the Chicago Bears, I go, man, I don't know. Maybe they might even be able to beat the Bears. That team I was on, I just left. They had a whole bunch of, Randy Gradishar. I mean, guys that are put like in Hall of Fames. They were just great players. And my roommate was a first-round draft pick from New England Patriots. If you were a 12th rounder, I mean, you didn't get you didn't even get a pat on the back there. It's like, oh, you got drafted? Oh, okay. It's like,
that's good.
There's too many first, second, third, fourth rounders.
That's what they produced, right? That greatness, essentially.
And it's, and it's even funny because there's sometimes that, you go places and people are very proud of being Ohio State fans. And I used to say, wow, it's like, there's people that went to Notre Dame too. They're real proud of that too. Yep. And I'm just thinking, this is the same thing. It's that allegiance to a school. Even if you only got to play on kickoffs, Doug, you know what? They gave you the opportunity to be on that field against Northwestern and make all the tackles and get fumbles that day. And, so I didn't start. I filled in for some guy, and, this guy got injured. But the next week I was back, running down on kickoffs. So, but I thought, you know what, that got me to the Chicago Bears. And so I just say, be thankful for everything you can get. And it's up to you. It's up to you to what you're going to make of it. Is it going to be just a one-off? Is it going to be a one thing? Or are you going to be able to go say, hey, listen, this is going to be the opportunity I was waiting for. And it was in my life. It wasn't my case.
I see why the businesses book you, Doug. I mean, I'm motivated. I mean, that's so well said. Like what you just alluded to. It's like you have the chance to make what you will of that opportunity. And I think it's such a good lesson, especially now, Doug, as we talk about NIL in sports and the transfer portal and unhappy athletes that feel like, because nowadays it seems like, young athletes that don't get an opportunity, they're not grinding it out, right? They're not waiting. Like they just go essentially now. And now you're talking to agents too, right, that are advocating. So it's just something sports world, right, than you came from. But I think your story is a testimony that you might not need to just transfer every year to try to get a playing opportunity. What you learn, how you show up in practice, like people are looking at all of that when they're looking for that next kind of star or person, right?
You know what? Here's my whole point too. When I was a 12th round draft pick, and we had 17 rounds, but anyway, no one's looking at you as a 12th round. You're not going to do anything. You're not going to replace anybody. You're not going to start or whatever. So you know what? When I got there, I go, what? Someone might yell at me if I hit somebody really hard in practice, but you know what? I said, oh, okay, I'm sorry. But, I would do that like 3 plays in a row. Like,
yeah.
oh, okay, I'm sorry. I won't have it again. Yeah, it will happen again. And it's going to happen next play. And I had a coach that was very aggressive. And he actually played in the Washington, or Jack Pardee was his name. And he had been a player for years and was, he left our team and went for the Washington Redskins at the time. Yeah. And he loved physical, tough football. I couldn't have gone to a better place. Even though he doesn't know who I am or whatever, he's going to know because I'm just going to be beating up people. It's hard to beat up people though when you're 5'11", like 195 pounds. So you have to be so committed, lifting weights, training, and almost create situations in your brain where it's hard to go hit somebody you don't hardly know. You have to make up a story in your mind. This guy was mean to my mother.
Yeah, get you mad, get you angry.
My brother, around, and make up. You make up dreams, and you almost dream at night. Like, this is funny. When we're getting ready to play a game on Sunday, your dream that night, Saturday night, would always be about the game. I'm telling you, this happened to me more than once.
Yeah.
What I dreamt the night before was almost exactly what happened in the game.
Like manifesting almost. Jeez. Wow.
Oh, you know what? Yeah. This would happen during the game. I'm going, this is Twilight Zone. This is I dreamed this last night.
I saw this. I know what's coming. That's amazing.
Because you're watching that film of that team. You put in probably 20, 30 hours that week. You know everything. You know them all by name.
Yep.
They're like your whole neighborhood friends. And their number, how they stand, everything they do.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. But, that's what makes it so hard to say, I'm leaving. I'm going to go. And go to what? Go to Burger King? I don't know.
Become a franchisee, right? You just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was, I understand, a lot of times it's tears. It's tears for those players and coaches walking out that door.
Yeah.
It's a feeling for them that in yourself, you keep thinking to yourself, someday this is going to happen to me. And so I better be prepared for it. And I was. I honestly, the off season was a work time for me. I wasn't sitting around, going to Honolulu or anything like that.
Right. You were working. You want more work, essentially.
Yes, I want more work. Actually, absolutely.
Yeah.
Plus, I wasn't, this is funny. My first 4 years, I made more money in the off season than I did as a Bear.
Jeez, wow. So just think about that. And
it's ridiculous. People are making $5-10 million a year.
Oh, the contracts are nice now, Doug.
They are nice. And I'm happy for the players. You know why? Because it's not so much about what you take as a player. It's about, the afterwards. It's like a banana. You ever get a banana, that looks like a good banana. I want to eat that. You start peeling it back. You go, oh my gosh, look at all the brown and the damage on this. It's somebody dropped it. That's you. That's you as a player. You go, oh, you look good, Doug. You've been lifting weights. Yeah, you wait till you see my joints. I had to replace them all. So that I say I'm the banana man. Every time I heard somebody say, "Oh, Doug, you look like you're in shape," I said, "No, it's an illusion. It's an illusion. If you would see my body underneath this skin, you wouldn't like it."
Dude. Doug, it's been such a joy having you on. Thank you for letting us fill an hour. Once again, you all are listening to.
No, we didn't do an hour. Are you serious?
It has. It doesn't feel like it. I know we've talked for an hour, but a good hour, a fun-filled hour, again, with lots of just great insights, blast from the past, but also again, just I think you tied it so well into just the game today, the game that so many of us love, the game that so many of us are going to spend a lot of time tonight, tomorrow night, Saturday, Sunday. Football takes up everything watching. So, Doug, and it's also just great to meet you. I love your energy, love your story. I'm so glad we're connected and excited. Are you going to be at Super Bowl, Doug? Will I see you in New Orleans?
Yeah, you know what? There's a chance of it. You know what?
Okay.
Because I was even going to try to make some of these other games this year. But you know what?
Yeah.
When you have I've got 7 properties that I rent out right now, with residential properties around Phoenix, around in fast food places.
Yeah.
Things happen like just when you're getting ready to go the next day. It's like, no, I can't go. The air conditioner broke at a restaurant.
Right. You kind of got to be on hand.
Yeah, the plumbing, something exploded. The toilet exploded in the bathroom in one of the house. We just can't say, have a good time.
Yeah.
No, you
look, I understand. You're busy. You're busy.
I'm busy.
I can't wait to see. If not, I will have to let you know next time I'm in Arizona. But again, Doug Plank, just an honor and pleasure to have you on. Just thank you.
No, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks so much, Doug. Well, great to talk to you. And until next time, have a great one.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Awesome. Again, you guys just listened to Doug Plank, the Chicago Bears legend. Just loved him taking us back to those gridiron stories. You guys remember that Bears defense of the past. And it, honestly, again, one that we still look to as we look at greats. And so appreciate Doug's time. We'll be back next week with more special live stream guests as well as audio shows. If you didn't get to catch the latest audio show, I welcome DC Police Chief Pamela A. Smith to the show. Definitely check that out. We talked all things the growth of women's sports, which by the night, it was an incredible atmosphere. Over 14,000 strong last night at that USC Maryland game. So great to see such a vibe in College Park. I know we've had a snowstorm. It's been crazy cold. School's not back in yet, but it's a vibe right now. And I'm absolutely loving it. So again, so excited to be part of that women's growth, women's sports growth. So again, check it out with DC Police Chief Pamela Smith has an incredible story about her own sports background, what the police academy, the police community is currently doing with sports, and again, how she supports our local DC sports. So I promise you won't want to miss it. But as always, thanks so much for tuning in. Once again, congratulations to my intern team. And until next time, I will see you all later. Enjoy the games tonight. And again, guys, be safe, stay warm, and just prayers to Los Angeles. I can't say that enough. My heart has been aching and hurting for all that I'm seeing in LA. So again, just prayers to Los Angeles. I think the world is all looking and just, again, just sending all that we can, love, light, and just please be safe. Again, to all of Los Angeles, we love our friends and neighbors. And again, we just wish you all just the best. Just get out and just be safe for you and your families. All right. Thanks, guys, so much. Until next week. See you guys later. Bye, guys.
Follow Kelsey on Instagram and X, formerly Twitter, at @TheRealKNelson. Catch episodes of Listen In with KNN on YouTube, on air at AM 1340 and 96.9 FM, Fox Sports Radio in the Washington, D.C. area, and online at KelseyNicoleNelson.com. Thank you for watching this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN.
Listen In with KNN on Fox Sports Radio now offers official Kelsey Nicole Nelson apparel in a variety of styles for men and women. Fashionable shirts, leggings, hats, jackets, and more. Order now and get 15% off and free shipping. Just enter promo code KNN. Get your Listen In with KNN wearables today. And check out Listen In with KNN on Fox Sports Radio with Kelsey Nicole Nelson.